Eagles. You know, in life, when you're a fan of a thing, it's kind of hard to be objective about it. It could be something as mundane as vanilla ice cream. You say it's the best. But generally speaking, the term vanilla is used to describe something that's plain, that's not fantastic. But in your opinion, vanilla is amazing. Best thing out there. Or it could be as serious as you defending your child of somebody speaking ill of them, even if they're doing something bad, or even if somebody's saying, hey, they can't read, and you lash out even though they really can't read. It's hard sometimes to be objective versus saying, this is my opinion and that's your opinion, and we can agree to disagree, and then just going on about our business. I say all of that to say that it's back on the table. They want to get rid of the brotherly shove because the Eagles are so good at it. The stats are like over the last 3 years, the Eagles have 90 or so first downs, and the second in line is the Bills with like 50. And who do you see on the podium saying, oh, we got to get rid of it, player safety? The Bills head coach, even though he's running it. He can't get it done the way the Eagles are getting it done, so he wants to get rid of it. That's my opinion. That's how I look at it. Because, hey, you're the second team that's running it the most. And because the Chiefs stop you 5 times in a row from getting a single inch on your Temu version of the brotherly shove, it's the brotherly shove for us. It's the tush push for everybody else. Because you can't get a single inch, but the Eagles can get 5 yards on the play, you want to get rid of it. So they'll say, oh, it's unfair. The defense can't push, but the offense can push. That's just the nature of the game. There are certain things that the defense can do on defense that the offense can't do. They say, what was the other thing? Oh, that it's player safety. I mentioned that, but there's no real data to back it up. I forgot to mention that. There's no real data over the 3 years that says our Eagles players have been banged up or are hurt irreparably by the play, and there's no real data to say that the defenders that are going against it have been hurt to where they can't continue, have been carted off, blah, blah, blah. So that kind of kills that argument. So when you look at the arguments, you got to kind of be fair. On the one hand, you have us dominating, but that's because we've practiced it, we perfected it, we've made it our own. It's on T-shirts. It's a thing. You have people that say it's boring, right? Well, it might be boring to some, but to others, it's not. You know the feeling. You can see the feeling that another team gets on their defense if they actually stop the shove. When they stop the shove, they feel incredible. They feel like they have accomplished something that almost nobody else has. And it's true because a lot of people haven't. There's that sense of accomplishment by doing that. And there's also that sense of accomplishment from the offense by being able to run the play over and over again and being successful. So for the two teams, they can see it in 2 different ways. From an audience perspective, some people say, oh, it's boring to watch. I find it incredibly awesome to watch. To watch our team impose our will on another team and see if they can stop it. And cheer when we push that line 2, 3, 4 yards down when we only needed 1. When you see plays like Washington, where you have Frankie Louvu jumping over the line, it was probably the longest second down in NFL history. Just watching that entire sequence was hilarious. Everybody's cracking up. The announcers are cracking up. The refs are like, hey, you got to cut it out or we're going to award a score, probably unfair act, which pretty much nobody had heard of except for a couple of analysts and, of course, the refs. People made entire videos over probably unfair act because of how outrageous and outlandish it seemed, even though they had mentioned that there had been other times where it could have been enacted, like when Mike Tomlin stepped on the field and it looked like he was going to trip the player. If he had actually tripped the player that was going to the end zone, they would have called that probably unfair and would have given him the score. Or I don't know the history behind this, but I hear there was some player that was on the bench, And because it was a breakout play, he ran off the bench and tackled the player that was going for a score. And that's how they kind of gauge this type of thing. So, hey, you're going to keep fouling when the offense can only get half the distance to the goal. But if we get a false start, we get backed up 5 yards, automatic 5 yards. So there's more for us to lose than it is to gain for you to keep jumping the line, which is why they have that type of stuff. But to have these kind of conversations, to have witnessed things like this is incredibly entertaining for me. And I know for a lot of other folks. I know it's not for some. And again, this is the point where we have to agree to disagree. I would liken the play to other greats, right? So you got Wilt with his hook shot. We're going to say you can't do a hook shot because it's unfair because this guy's great at it? Or Steph with his threes. We're going to ban 3 points because he's 3-point shots because he's so good at it. He's so dynamic at it. It's boring because every time he gets the ball, he can make it from 3-point, half court, full court. We're going to ban 3-point shots? No. Now, what I will say about this that really shows the difference between the brotherly shove and the 3-point shot is now everybody in the NBA is taking 3-point shots. It's a 3-point shootout circus in the NBA, which it has made it less enjoyable to watch. Because if he's good at it and I can get good at it, we're all doing it. And that's what we've been saying about the brotherly shove. You have the ability to do it. Do it. And other teams have tried and they have failed miserably. So now you're only being punitive to the Eagles. Whereas if you were to ban the 3-point shot, you'd be banning it for everybody that's taking them, even centers that are taking the shot from beyond the line that shouldn't be. There's a distinct difference in that. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's having varied success in the 3-point shot, but much more success with the 3-point shot than with the brotherly shove. So I could see the argument if that was the case, right? If the brotherly shove had expanded so much that every team was running it and everybody was good at it and it just became boring because nobody could stop it against any team, then yeah, the argument is sound. You know, let's get rid of it. It's boring. Nobody can stop it. But it's just the Philadelphia Eagles that have studied, that have perfected it, that have made it their own, that really gets under the skin of other organizations. But to me, I say, you need to get good at defending it. You need to get good at coming up with interesting ways to go about trying to stop it. And I'm not going to give you the secret sauce about what I think could do that. That's up to you. Don't try to rain on our parade just because you are not either good at doing it yourself or stopping it. Because, and like the example I just made, Wilt's hook shot was his own, and we wouldn't ban that. And the 3-point shot, which was the mark of a great shooter like Bird and Reggie and Steph, has now become the hallmark of pretty much every player who steps on the field. So it kind of becomes a whole different story where you could debate it differently. So that's how I try to be fair and objective when looking at the brotherly shove, right? I try to look at, can the other players attempt it? And they can. How good are they at attempting it? They're not. And is it unfair to say, well, we're going to ban it from one team? Now, obviously, you'll be banning it from everybody. But would it be fair to really ban it only because the Eagles are great at it versus banning it just because everybody's doing